All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army, episode 2.233. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start with headlines, FIFA, MLS managerial moves, and Saudi surprises. Weekly what if. We're going to talk a little MLS 2 playoff optimization. Premier League North London title race will feature prominently and heavily in this week's discussion. Then we'll go around the world with the U.S. men's national team preview of Saturday's Germany friendly, and then stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's distinguished panel of beauties here with me, two of whom have massive shit-eating grins on their face. If you're on YouTube watching this, pretty happy, I will say, for being in second place in the table at the moment. But you know what? We'll get into that. We'll hold off for the moment. We'll start off welcoming in with the non-tweedle that joins me and evening things out a little bit, Dalton Kemper. And we'll pivot away from soccer for just a moment as we watch Green Bay. I was going to say shit the bed, but it's not so bad now that we're up. We're basically even 10-10. But the question for you as a Bears fan is, how are you guys back? Is this team back? Is this Chicago Bears team back after the big win against the mighty Commanders last week?
I don't think the Bears are back, but I think Justin Fields is back. I'm
Okay,
pretty happy. I think the team around him still sucks a lot, but I feel really good about having Justin Fields as my quarterback. Big difference from 2 weeks ago, whenever I was ready to ship Justin Fields anywhere but Chicago. But we are back. The Bears are back. It's going to be a really fun, maybe 6-win season, which I'll take. So it's fine.
Okay, the Bears are kind of back, and Fields is all the way back.
He's definitely back. He's definitely back. Yeah.
All right. One game and he's all the way back. All right.
Jordan Love's bad, by the way. Jordan Love never was here. Just
there
so
you go. There you go. Get your shots in. Get them in. I'm not sure where I stand on the Jordan Love situation. I'm very much on the fence, so I'll just leave it at that for the moment. I'm not even going to defend him at the moment. So number 2 is actually Tweedle number 1, Tommy McGunner. Now, we're gonna go off the reservation. No one-word answers. I know you love those, but we're gonna stray from the beaten path for a moment. If you did not go to Notre Dame, what was your plan B school?
Stanford.
Wow, total brain. What a brainiac. What a nerd. I guess that doesn't surprise me at all. How close was it? Was it a close run race between Notre Dame and Stanford?
Yeah, it was actually. So those were definitely my two final choices. I visited both. I really enjoyed both campuses. Yeah, there's something special about Notre Dame. It's just in the air when you go there. So
did you go on on a football Saturday?
I didn't. I went in the dead of spring or winter.
Oh, and you still liked it. Okay. Well,
yeah, I think that says, if I went on a college football weekend, I think it would have been like signed, sealed, and delivered that Sunday. So
that's fair. I've been there for a Saturday game day. It's a lot of fun. And I know Madison game days and they're a lot of fun as well. But Notre Dame's up there. So I'll give you that. All right. Finally, we got Tweedle number 2, Mitchell Goulet, aka Overtime Mitch. And the question for you, we're really going to dig into who you are as a person. So I hope you're ready to get a little introspective with us here,
okay.
Mr. Goulet. So what is your beef with Instagram? You post all the time for work on Overtime, but you haven't given us like a filtered look into the life of Mitchell Goulet since like June 21st. So what's up?
Oh, I have a call it an attitude towards social media that I don't feel like I owe any followers a glimpse into who I actually am, unless maybe they ask. The parts of my life that I choose to share with the world on the internet are admittedly curated and probably a little too sporty, and they don't accurately describe me as a person. I also don't photograph well and don't take too many pictures of myself that are worth posting on the internet. I do a lot of shit like on a basketball court or on a soccer field that is worth posting, but nobody actually wants to see that. I'm actually not under the impression that people want to see pictures of me anyway. So I think whenever I burden the internet with a picture or video of myself, then I've put in my time and I can take my 2-3 months off. I'll stick to posting on Overtime FC.
Okay, that's an interesting question. You had both sort of the deep answer, and you also had some very surface level, vain.
Yeah.
I don't picture well, or I don't
Yeah,
take
exactly.
pictures. All right.
I mean, you're one to talk. When's the
I
last
know.
time you've posted a picture of yourself? Come on.
Fair enough. No, I was gonna say this is not me throwing stones from glass houses, even though it totally is. I don't put like anything. My internet footprint is very small, and I think kind of the same reasons as you. I just don't think people would find me that interesting, so I don't really feel like I need to put stuff out there.
Is this question a way of getting me to post more? Are you saying you'd like more insights into my life?
I was just interested. I just sort of saw, I've noticed that you haven't been posting on Instagram because I look at social media to get my little questions sometimes for the intro.
Yeah.
And you haven't given me anything since June. So
I'm not giving you ammo. Every time Tommy gives you ammo, you hit him with the give me one word to describe your college decision. It's like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to be pigeonholed into a question like that.
That's fair. That's fair. I feel like Mikey is the one who actually gives me the most ammo on
yeah.
Did you bully him into not posting song lyrics anymore?
I honestly think I did. I kind of feel bad about that.
Yes.
I kind of feel bad about that, to be honest with you. I kind of liked it. That was the only way I ever learned some song lyrics.
Complimenting him on the things that he puts out.
Right.
I'll work on that. But I also felt like it was, while I was being kind of accidentally mean in going after him about the music lyrics, I was hoping that maybe he'd get some more followers. So it was kind of like a win-loss-win, make up for it. I don't know. Probably not. It's probably just me being a bad person. So I'll work on that. Moving forward. All right. Headlines time here. Let's get to it. So FIFA, we had ourselves a good old-fashioned news dump last week when FIFA announced out of the blue that, number one, they announced the hosts for a World Cup 2030, and they dropped kind of a big hint about who's going to host in 2034. So let's start with 2030. So the 2030, they announced, this is, give me a minute to work through this if you guys haven't actually, been following this. The official hosts, there's three of them, Morocco, Spain, and Portugal. Then there's some ceremonial, what I'm going to call ceremonial hosts, that are hosting maybe the first game, I think, of the group stage, or one game in the group stage, and that is Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. And that is kind of, a shout out to the first World Cup that was held in 1930 in Uruguay. So for those keeping track at home, we've got, 6 nations hosting, quote unquote, even though it's really 3. 6 nations will automatically qualify for the tournament. It's on 3 continents: Africa, Europe, and South America, and in 2 hemispheres. So, Dalton, we can start with you. What are your thoughts on this on this news dump?
I'm not a fan of, especially the South American throwing them one game each thing. I get wanting to honor them. Just give them the World Cup then. If you want them to have games for the 100th anniversary, give it to those 3 countries. I actually don't mind the whole 3 countries hosting a World Cup thing, just because for a lot of countries, they don't have the infrastructure for World Cup stadiums. If you use 3 countries, they're probably already going to have it and not build stadiums that are going to be ghost towns in 2-3 years after the World Cup anyway. So I don't hate it. I think Morocco, Spain, and Portugal would be a hell of a World Cup to go to. So I don't hate that those 3 are getting pretty much all the games. But the throwing South America a bone for being like, okay, we got to play some games here, I'm not a fan of it. I wish South America would get an entire World Cup. But obviously, like you said, we're going to touch on, I think the World Cup's going somewhere else after this one. So it's I'm not a big fan. I don't mind 3 countries hosting it, but the throwing a bone to South America is weird. It's really weird to me.
There's 2 things that stand out to me about this whole announcement. The first one is just the fact that they did it this way, right? We had all this talk about how FIFA was gonna, be more open and sort of not do multiple World Cups at the same time, and is a way of sort of getting rid of some of the graft and corruption and all this stuff. And they were gonna sort of avoid this thing, and then all of a sudden, boom, that's out the window. We just announced it, that some sort of shadowy body has decided that this 2030 World Cup is going to be in such and such and such and such nations, And then 2034 is going to be, and we're going to get to this in just a second, the 2034 is going to be in Asia and or Oceania. And so just in a general sense, I have no problem with, the next World Cup being in wherever it's going to be. But the fact that they are in, so this is the second thing that stands out about, this announcement, the fact that they basically, looped in South America, 3 South American countries, and said, here, you can have one game, when they really should have hosted 2030 World Cup. Like this is the 100th anniversary of the first World Cup. South America obviously has they have the stadiums, especially if you go with three countries, like that wouldn't be a problem. It just made a lot of sense. I have no problem with Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. I think you're right. I think it's probably going to be an awesome World Cup. I think it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a great place. We saw from the World Cup how, soccer mad Morocco is. They did great at the last World Cup. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. But the fact that they just looped in South America and said, here, you can have 3 games as a way then to, I'm now going out on a limb and sort of making some assumptions here, but we got an organization in FIFA who cares about one thing and one thing only, and that's money. And then you got a country in Saudi Arabia who is going balls deep on soccer and willing to throw as much money as they, as not as much money as they can, but as much money as any organization could ever want at, this sort of thing. Put those two together. I'm just sort of connecting some dots here. And 2034 seems like Saudi Arabia is going to be involved at some point or in some manner. And so the fact that we're going from a World Cup in 2022/2023 that was in Qatar and skipping, we're skipping South America essentially, means that I don't like that. I think South America is getting sort of screwed. I think it feels like just FIFA doing what they do and probably taking money for this. And so I don't like it. It doesn't sit right with me. And I'm sure the World Cup's going to be fine. I'm sure the World Cup's going to be, awesome. Speaking of 2030, but it just doesn't sit right with me. Tommy, what do you think?
I mean, it's classic FIFA.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us are really surprised. I will say, and being devil's advocate, having gone to the 2022 one in Qatar, when a country like that throws ridiculous amounts of money at hosting a tournament like that, the venues are great. Like it was very easy viewing. Just the games and going from game to game, just the logistics of the game itself, without getting into everything bigger.
The politics of it, but also there's going to be a difference between Saudi Arabia and Qatar, right? Qatar is like tiny.
Yeah, that was. I could go to 3 or 4 games in a day, which like Saudi Arabia is not going to be like that. But I also think it'll be interesting. Like Saudi Arabia is a much older Middle Eastern country with a lot more history and tradition that people either don't agree with or do agree with, and it's heavily divisive. So I think that will be a more realistic take than Qatar.
Okay, Mitch, what do you think?
Realistic in terms of like the actual logistics of putting it on, yes, but it doesn't feel like an actual homage to South America to give them 3 games and then put the rest of the tournament in another area. I do, like Dalton said, I completely love the idea of having a World Cup in multiple nations that are in the same proximity. Just makes sense. Like a lot of countries don't have the infrastructure, like you said, but to have the first 3 like opening game. Also, they can't all be opening games. One of them's an opening game.
Right.
You can't have 3 opening games. I'm sorry. To have these 3 opening games on a completely another continent, the travel alone doesn't make sense. Like whoever is playing in those opening games are getting shafted with transcontinental travel to 2 other group stage games where I'm assuming a couple of those teams are just going to have been there stationed in either Morocco, Portugal, or Spain, relaxing, not traveling thousands of miles to play their second group stage games. I don't know. It doesn't feel like an actual homage.
And
It
that goes
feels like,
especially for teams that aren't Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina. So they're traveling
right,
to South America for
for
one
90
game
minutes.
and then going to Spain, Portugal, or Morocco. Yeah, that's
Like,
just yikes.
yeah, I don't love it. And then for 2034, or for 2030, excuse me. No, 2034.
Yeah.
We'll see what, like, we all know it's gonna happen. I'm more so curious to see like how they're gonna roll out that information and how they're gonna manage the press around it, because historically they have not been good at hiding motives behind some of their decisions that they make. And this one is going to be one of the most blatant of them all. So I'm really curious how to see how they frame um, and justify bringing it to Saudi Arabia.
Right. Maybe it's a little premature of us to get all up in arms
Is it
about
though?
it.
But like,
It's
No,
is
what
it
I
it's
was going to
not.
say. It's not.
the
Saudi
momentum?
Arabia, the day after,
Yeah.
they announced that 2034 was going to be in quote unquote Asia and or Oceania. The day after, Saudi Arabia had their, official pitch, with, Steven Gerrard and Jordan Henderson out there posting on Instagram, and I'm sure Neymar and whoever, Ronnie and whoever else. I'm sure that there's a lot more out there. Yeah, I don't think that we're being too premature about making assumptions here. It just doesn't feel right. It does feel like South America is getting hosed, to be honest. And then on top of that, whether you know there's going to be a whole, if Qatar was a sort of a hot button topic, Saudi Arabia is going to be that, times several fold, if not several hundredfold. So yeah, we'll get into that probably again many times over the years. We'll leave it at that for now and move on to the rest of the headlines. Let's run through them here. So a couple interesting managerial moves in MLS, and strange for several reasons, not least of which being we're basically in the last week essentially, or weeks of the season, and both of the teams whose manager headed out were still in contention at the time. So Minnesota United announced Adrian Heath had been sacked. He was let go. And they were still mathematically in contention. I don't know. Were they eliminated this weekend? They won. They
They
won.
are
So
still in it. They're
yeah. So
still
they
in it.
won
They're
big. So
only 1 point out of ninth right now.
right. So they're still in it. I couldn't believe. So it was just a interesting timing there of letting Heath go. And then Wayne Rooney, quote unquote, mutually departs DC United, and just so happens where there was a lot of smoke about him heading to Birmingham City. Birmingham City's manager was just fired, and so not only is DC United in a playoff spot, or at least they were at the time, but Birmingham City is in a playoff spot in the championship. They're in sixth. So the fact that Birmingham City got rid of their manager kind of doesn't really make any sense. I know we don't have Tyler, our normal MLS hit and quit a minute guy, to sort of give us the inside scoop. But anybody here got some takes or a take on what the hell's going on here?
I thought the Wayne Rooney hire from the beginning was really weird. Like DC was looking for a guy to come in. They needed a long-term answer. And from the beginning, it was very clear this was at max a 2-year thing for Rooney coming in. So it was really weird on that front. And then we know that Rooney's wife isn't fond of living in the United States away from England and everything like that. Birmingham City, like Rooney was a hot prospect in England for what he did with Derby County. It was all a weird hire for me, so this didn't really surprise me. But kind of like you said, I don't understand why these teams didn't make these moves in the summer transfer window when you could bring a different coach in that can shape the team how he wants. Made no sense for either of these.
Exactly. And at this point, just wait 2 weeks, and then your season could be over. So it was strange timing and everything like that. I do think you're right. The writing has been on the wall for Rooney not being sort of long for DC. So it's not a big surprise that he moved. I think the timing is what really stood out. And then with Adrian Heath, it seems like, I know he's a well-respected manager. I think he's done pretty well with Minnesota over the years. And so the timing there too, with them in the hunt, just felt strange to me. But figured I'd point it out. Other news, this is really quick. So MLS players, I think Andre Blake started it with a story that he did, I think the Philadelphia Inquirer or something like that. And then a bunch of MLS players, I saw Timmy Parker, our guy, jumped on, retweeted it. Basically, MLS players are starting to bang the drum a little bit on the fact that they are being overworked. There's just too many games. The quality of the product is going to go down, and maybe it already is. And they're saying, listen, you got to scale things back, and or we need some serious changes to the way that rosters are put together. And I think this is a great move by the players, whether it's overdue or not, who knows, but like, this is something like it has to be fan pressure, it has to be player pressure, it has to be, everybody has to put some pressure on essentially the owners, who are going to be the ones that need to shell out more money, to make sure that the product on the field keeps up with kind of the potential that the league has to grow. And right now it does feel like we're in like a really crucial moment in the league's evolution. And with Messi, with the World Cup coming and all this stuff, they got to open the purse strings, and they got to expand the roster, raise the cap, do all sorts of things like that. I don't know, Mitch, anything to add on this?
Yeah, one, I think it's great that the players are speaking up, and that player empowerment and the health of these players is of utmost importance, and that's like the primary concern. But if you look at it from the owner's perspective, right, they're motivated to get as much product as they can through as little investment as they can. But in reality, I mean, we've seen that with like short-sighted financial decisions throughout the league. We mentioned the Inter Miami season ticket stuff like 2 weeks ago. This is not the time to tighten those purse strings. I don't want to talk about 2026 as if it's some like head that the US soccer economy is going to come to, but it is the biggest moment that we're leading up to, and you need more investment going into that. You can't be trying to juice every last minute out of these guys' legs leading up to that 2026 World Cup. Ultimately, we need our ducks in a row, or as straight as they can be before that happens. And I think a conversation starting now about wear and tear on players' bodies, roster construction, and just how many minutes these guys are asked to play is, it's a good time to start it. And hopefully we see some meaningful change in the next like year or so.
For sure. And I think that the players, if anybody's going to, have an actual microphone that people listen to, I feel like there was going to be it's probably gonna have to be some players that really did
it's
that.
Players, so, and it's the good players. It's
exactly.
MLS All-Stars, to be fair.
Exactly. That's why Andre Blake and Tim Parker, both All-Stars, it makes sense that they're jumping on board. Mm-hmm. I will say that some, not all owners were created equal, so to speak. Nope. I know that there's owners out there that are ready, willing, and able to invest more, if not a lot more, in their clubs. And then you got the Stan Kroenkes of the world, who are absolutely trying to squeeze as much out of their players and out of their sort of C-rate facilities as they possibly can. So that's obviously a whole different conversation that we can get into. We don't need to. But Tommy, listen, this is something that you probably think about a lot as a brainiac in the soccer world who has, some I don't know, you understand the business of the game as well. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, definitely have some thoughts. I think like everyone's saying it, and I think there is some truth to it, that like the end all be all is the 26 World Cup. And what the 94 World Cup did for this country, imagine that on steroids for this one. I think the 94 World Cup holds every attendance record, average attendance record in the World Cup to this day. And so I think MLS has to be strategic and consistent with whatever they've done so far and plan ahead. I don't think they'll just like say, open the floodgates and let everyone do whatever they want. But I do think they realize they have to make changes. And so if they like slowly start now to get to the point by after the 2026 World Cup when all these players and fans come over and are like, look at this product, look at the infrastructure, like look at all this that we have in this country. And they're like, I want to go there or whatever. That they have to have the abilities to do that once the World Cup is over. So I think it's not like a drastic change now till next season or now to the World Cup. It'll be like a steady one.
Right. You got to start now, but you do have to start.
You start like letting the leash or the rope go, and then it's just like fully open, hopefully by a couple years after the World Cup. Because I do think there's going to be many players that come here and be like, I want to play in the US.
Yeah. We already have that, right? We have the quality of life. It's just we need to raise the level a little bit. Dalton, any final thoughts there?
No, I totally agree with what Mitch and Tommy both said. Just eventually you gotta let the reins loose a little bit, and it needs to happen at a faster pace than it has in the last few years with the growth we've seen of the league. The spending hasn't increased with it, so hopefully the Messi effect plus 2026 makes it happen.
Fair enough. All right, last and maybe least, I don't know, headline here. So Saudi Arabia has really shaken things up in the soccer universe by, going and raiding leagues all around the world and bringing all these, big name, and not just big name, but guys, that we haven't even really heard of to their league in an effort to sort of put themselves on the map. Obviously, also there may be some geopolitical ramifications as well, or at least sort of strategy behind it from their perspective. But really strange headline that I saw and actually, did some digging on. It sounds like the Saudi League might be planning a similar kind of raid on female players as well to build their female league, which just started in 2022, 2023. That was the first year of the Saudi female league or Saudi women's league. This, when I read it, it sort of sounded like it was some sort of, story out of The Onion. But then I was looking on Twitter and, I saw some agents who confirmed that they have, had approaches from, or had, people, intermediaries essentially approach them about putting out feelers to see if they'd, be interested in bringing their players over to the Saudi women's league. I still, even after seeing that, I still can't believe. I saw like headlines that Alex Morgan was like on their list. I cannot believe that this is a possibility. I don't know. Mitch, any thoughts on this prospect?
They continue to surprise us. Saudi Arabia does.
Saudi surprises. That's why I started out with that. Yep.
I don't know what women. So in the NWSL has some of the highest concentration of female football talent in the world, along with France and England. I don't know, out of the top players, which it seems like the Saudi league tends to target, who of those players would be willing to go over to Saudi Arabia, a country with a history of just abysmal treatment of women, of gay people, of minorities, that who of those players would be willing to go over? There's no amount of money in the world. I mean, I say that, but fuck, look who's gone over there. But like, there's no amount of money in the world that can reshape a culture that treats women the way it does. And American women, European women alike, I can't speak for them, but I can't imagine a world where the best women's players in the world are willingly going to a country where they are second-rate citizens. That just doesn't make sense to me, regardless of how much money they're being offered.
So when I first see this, I was like, okay, that's absolutely crazy. There's no way this is true. But then it sounds like there's actually some smoke or maybe some fire to the smoke here. Like, part of me wants to think that this is like Saudi Arabia legitimately modernizing, and maybe this is and maybe some players could go over there, just like how, Jordan Henderson and some other players, they were like, we're going to try and, bring our values or whatever and to the, wherever they're going to play.
And is there any evidence of that yet? Is there any evidence of Jordan Henderson
any rainbow
bringing
laces?
Western value? Right. Is there any, or is it just like, or is that just something to soften his transfer?
Right.
Like, listen, do we have
100%.
any evidence of cultural change.
Right.
No.
This thought crossed my mind for about a millisecond. The fact that okay,
fair.
maybe this is a good thing. Maybe it's just
The
a
sports
sign.
washing entered you for a second. And you're like, no. This is
They tried.
This is what they want.
Exactly. But then it's just the thing about I love soccer in all its forms, shapes, colors, flavors, whatever. I will say, on the women's side, there is a political, element to it that is not necessary. It's so ingrained deeply in women's soccer that is not there on the men's side. And sometimes, there's guys that are just straight. The word is escaping me. Mercenaries. There's just people just straight mercenaries. They're willing to go wherever the most money will take them. I don't know if that is something. And so listen, the Saudi League is sort of building their brand based on that. And the fact there's guys willing to go take just an absolutely obscene amount of money to go play there. I don't know sure there's going to be some women that do that. I just don't think that it's going to be as common. And the backlash will be sort of more personal. So yeah, I can't imagine this actually working, but I saw the headline, so I figured we had to talk about it. I don't know. Dalton, any thoughts?
I think women are harder to buy, like by their morals.
I've tried.
I'm saying by their morals. No one clip that and take that the wrong way. Harder by their morals. We've seen with a lot of these men's soccer players, they can be bought, and there's a price on their morals. And we've seen with women's soccer players, there's not. Like, they are willing to stand that ground. And I think some women would go, but I do think other women's soccer players would speak out against it immediately. Whereas in the men's game, no men have really spoke out against it outside of Toney Cruz, have really said anything about any of these guys going over. There's been a few La Liga players. The other ones are escaping me. Cruz is the one that's on the top of my mind, but I think the amount of women that would come out against this would be way more than what we've heard from the men.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, Tommy, last word, or we move on? All right, let's head to weekly what if time. We'll go quickly. So this hypothetical is based on a real world situation, and that is the playoff format for MLS Next Pro, which I didn't, all these different new features in the playoffs in MLS and MLS Next Pro. I didn't even realize this was a thing until about 2 weeks ago when I saw the Benny Feilhaber, well, we'll get into it here. But basically what they did with MLS Next Pro is the format was pick your opponent to the structure for the first 2 rounds, which basically means that the top seed gets to pick anybody in the playoffs who they want to play and who they want to, bring them to our home field. And that's who we're going to play. I absolutely am in love with this playoff format, and I can't believe so I'm going to throw this one to you, Mitch. Who says no about making this like a real thing in MLS? Like, it's just, doesn't this make sense? If you're the supporter shield winner, right? Let's say you're Cincinnati. And obviously this doesn't seem like it's going to work out this way, but if you then had to, your, prize for getting first in the conference, and then in fact in the league, was to play an upstart Miami team with the best player in the world, that's not much of a prize. So shouldn't it be like, you have the top seed, then they should have, their choice. I mean, on top of being fair and everything, you also add in just this element of like straight up bulletin board material. When you pick, so like, I'm going to pick that team. That's who I want to play. I love this idea. I love this concept. So talk me out of it. Tell me why this this should not be in place in every goddamn league in the world.
Knee-jerk reaction is it's such a video game ass change to format. It is such a like, hey, what if we did that? Like the whole entire board had been meeting for hours, and the one guy just piped up and was like, what if we just let people pick their opponents, huh?
Right.
And they all were just so fucking tired that they're like, yeah, sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, no, after they're like 14th Busch Light. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it would be, either one step forward or two steps back in the grand scheme of like, all right, are we trying to Americanize this league and be unique, or are we trying to slowly adapt to what the other top leagues in the world are doing, which is promotion relegation, which is not this Mickey choose your own adventure type of playoff style. We kind of have to decide which way we want to go with it. I've seen more and more conversation recently on, well, what's more important, MLS Cup or Supporters Shield? Because Supporters Shield more accurately reflects who the best team all season has been. MLS Cup is a tournament. And while both of them kind of reflect different best teams, one of them is admittedly more European than the other. And not to say that the European League standard or European League format is the standard, but we've made strides in recent years to get more like that. We've talked about promotion relegation now. I know that has been tabled, but like these are conversations we're having. This to me would be a complete step in the other direction. So
you didn't say the wrong direction. You said the other direction.
No, it's the other direction. Right. It's I don't know what way we're trying to take this league. I'm not for it right now. Right. I'm against it right now. I'm still trying to wrap my head around our current structure.
Right,
yeah, I'm a no
fair.
right now.
Listen, they change the structure every year, so that's fair. We got one sort of soft no from the Euro snob hater. Tommy, what are your thoughts on this? You anti or you pro?
I think there's too much money to be just saying I want that team.
That's great though.
I think, dude, I love it, and I love Benny Hender's scared money don't make money.
Right, I love that move. Scared money didn't make money, but
yeah, they lost.
I did love the clip though.
But there's just too much money.
I have one question. When you say, you get to choose what club you play, who has the final say at that? Is it the coach? Is it the team captain? Is it the owner of the club? Who makes that decision, and how does that decision come about? That's a lot easier of a conversation with lower league teams, but when it gets to franchises with broadcasting deals and like brand obligations to think about and the league picture as a whole to think about, you have to imagine that the front office is pulling those levers, and that is not going to be like in the football spirit that I'm assuming you're looking at this through. You want this as like a competitive, like bulletin board material. These decisions would come from the board though. These decisions would not take into account the players' feelings or thoughts, maybe the coaches, maybe the team captains, but ultimately who would get that final say? It's the guy at the top.
So let's use this example. If you're a top place team in the East, you're contemplating choosing Miami with Messi.
100%.
It's based off the money. Yeah. And it's like, that's sporting wise, that's not who you should pick.
Right.
Revenue wise.
It just
imagine the disconnect between the front office and the players that actually have to play Lionel fucking Messi for 90 minutes. And the front office doesn't give a shit. If you're Cincinnati, you won the Supporters Shield, first round exit, fine, I don't care. MLS Cup, I'm not worried about it. Let's get a playoff Miami game where we can sell Messi price tickets at. Sure. Imagine the friction that would cause between a player and the front office.
100%. There'd be an extra drama, an extra layer of soap opera that's honestly
what you want.
That is what I want. Absolutely what I want. Also, for the record, I do think MLS needs that. And, if we're going to get some down the road to some playoff, or promotion relegation, I'm all for that. But we're a long ways off from that right now. And so I just love the drama of it. Dalton, what do you think?
All I can think of is the NBA All-Star draft. The whole time we've been talking about this, and like James Harden not getting picked, and just random shit like that in the NBA All-Star draft. Like, we should, if this was an actual thing, we should trot out some of the biggest players to just pick their opponents. There should be a rule to prohibit front offices from getting involved. And we just trot out Timmy Parker and he gets to say what team he wants St. Louis City to play, and then we roll with that. That I can get more behind. Because Timmy Parker doesn't care about ticket prices. Obviously, St. Louis isn't in the East, but he's not going to pick Miami because of ticket prices. He might pick Miami and be like, we can keep Messi down for 90 minutes, no big deal. And then there would be the drama. But yeah, all I can think of is the NBA All-Star Draft, and this reminds me so much of that.
When I think Mitch said Mickey Mouse, choose your own adventure. I think that's what you described it.
Yeah,
if
maybe.
if you tar it with that name, yeah, it's not going to go very far.
They should market it that way. Actually,
no, they should not. It won't go very far. But I like it.
But you know what I do like? I think we should take that All-Star draft and choose your own team. Let's have MLS All-Stars choose their own team. Like day before the game, just one. That would be entertaining. I'd like to see that.
I like
East and West. I would love that.
I'm all for that. I like that idea. There, we just fixed the All-Star game. There was all that talk for months. Mitch just fixed it in 5 seconds. Okay, listen, let's get to the Premier League. I know you guys have been, these Tweedles anyway, have been dying to talk about this for a couple days. So I'm not going to, as we did last week, I'm just going to skip the whole opening question because it's not even a question. Even though the most notable result of the weekend certainly wasn't the best game of the weekend. But Arsenal is 1-0. I'm not going to call it yawn fest because it was two very good teams going up against each other. And, let's call it a defensive chess match. How about that? But that was, the game we're going to start with. Arsenal's 1-0 win over City. Big bad City. Paving Spurs' path to the title was definitely the one we're going to start with here. So Mitch, what were your, what stood out from the game, and what did you sort of walk away thinking?
What stood out from the game is that William Saliba needs to be at this club for a very long time. That man is an absolute Rolls Royce back there. Erling Haaland, the past 2 times he's played him, 0 XG across 2 games. 0.00 XG. And I'm not just going to regurgitate that. Like, I watched the game as well, locked him up at not a threat. I don't think City had a shot on target since 50 something minutes in. That was one of the most toothless City performances I've seen in a long time. And I think we can attribute that to Arsenal's organization on defense. We can attribute it to the fact that this game was at the Emirates and there were some key injuries in Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne, and but I think that was about as good as we could have asked from that game. I spoke to people that were super pessimistic going in, that were if we get out of there with a draw, I'll be super happy. But you look at how City lined up with Kovacic and Rico Lewis. Can we talk about Kovacic should have been sent off?
We will. We'll get there.
Good God.
We'll get there.
God. I mean, just all we ask for with VAR is consistency. And across the board, week in, week out, you see tackles that look alike and are in similar areas of the field and circumstances. Some are no cards at all. Others get turned into reds for seemingly nothing. There's just no standard. And I heard, one of the announcers, I forget who, said that, well, he's not just policing the laws of the game, he's policing the game itself. I said, okay, then why is he burdened with policing the game itself as opposed to the laws of the game? Because it seems like referees each week just stick to the laws of the game and not the flow of a game. If the referee in that Liverpool Spurs match last weekend was tasked with refereeing the game itself, he wouldn't have sent Curtis Jones off, because that's not a red card challenge in the moment. I know we already talked about this, so I won't waste more breath on it.
Don't you say a word, Sam. Don't you say a word.
Just bite it for 30 seconds.
I'm trying. I'm going to mute myself.
There's a stark difference in how referees implement VAR week in and week out. And that's just, Kovacic should have been sent off after the first tackle. Second tackle should have been a yellow, should have been sent off again. Yeah. That's where I'll leave that one. Overall, very happy with Arsenal's performance. Let's win the league. I love it.
That was going to be my next question about title race for real. But listen, we brought up the Kovacic, so let's get all our cards on the table about that challenge. It was for me a definite just orange card. Like I I wasn't like,
You're
okay,
talking about the first challenge.
Excuse me. Sorry, got a frog in my throat there. Yeah, I'm talking about the first challenge. The first challenge was like, okay, it was a little high. It was, if we're gonna make a distinction, because the one thing I will say is it's hard to, we ask for consistency and we want consistency, and for good reason. It is hard in a game like soccer, a sport like soccer, where every challenge is different and every challenge has just slightly, there's different things going on. But yes, he came in a little high. I didn't think it was I'm not sure the word is going to work here, but it just didn't seem as vicious as the Curtis Jones coming into Basuma. Like when he went into it was Odegaard, right? So I wasn't like, okay, like he could have broken his leg. It was more like, well, you went in a little too high on that. So it could have been a red card. And in the moment when he didn't give a red card immediately, I was like, oh shit, they're going to come back to that. And just as a straight neutral, as much as a neutral as I can be, I was just hoping that they didn't give the red card because I thought it was going to ruin the game. Looking back, there wasn't much to ruin. And in fact, it's good for you that they didn't get him sent off, and you end up pulling the game out and winning against 11-man City and held them to basically zero chances all game. I think that's actually better in the grand scheme of things for you. But yeah, I mean, I was really hoping that they didn't send him off. So I'm maybe a little biased in that, but I also thought it was okay, straight orange tackle or orange card tackle. If they send him off, it'd be hard to argue with it. They didn't send him off, and I was like, okay, I can get behind that. But then he went again, and he did another tackle that was a pure, just an absolute yellow card. I was like, whoa, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, Kovacic? You're just like, he had a death wish or a red card wish. And the fact they didn't send him off on that second one after the first one was, if you're managing the game or whatever, after you basically look at a challenge that easily could have been a red card, and then he makes another challenge, which honestly wasn't that bad, but it was
it's a yellow card challenge.
It was a yellow card.
Very simple.
So how do you not then give the second one after the first time you're like, oh, I could have given you a red there? I do not understand. And I don't think it's a matter of consistency. I don't think there's any conspiracy. I don't think it's anything like that. But it's that was Arsenal. I'm not glad Arsenal won. Let me get that out there. I'm very clear. I'm not glad you won, but the fact that you did win after the very controversial call, that at least kind of sits right in my brain as somebody who tries to be third party unbiased about these things.
I would not want to come on here and yell and argue with you after defeating 10-men City 1-0. That just wouldn't feel as good as this currently does.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah, so in a weird way, I'm also glad he wasn't sent off.
You weren't happy at the time. You weren't happy.
No, I was. No, I was. Me and everybody around me in O'Hanlon's was pissed. But can I say that 10 minutes in, when Jorginho got a yellow, I was like, no way is he going to be able to keep up with the pace of this game for 90 minutes. There's like he's picking up his second yellow with it, like he needed to be sent off or taken off at half. Went the rest of the game without putting a foot wrong. I retract any doubt that I had. I was really worried after he got that super early yellow, but for the rest of the game, he was an absolute specimen. Didn't put a foot wrong.
All right, let's get the other Tweedle on the record about this game. So, any thoughts about it, or do we have a legitimate title race?
Oh yeah.
Liverpool
I don't
and City.
Liverpool and City.
Exactly.
I knew.
No, I do think right now it's a 3-team race, and one of those teams is
not Tottenham.
Yeah.
I'm of two minds right now. I'm of the mind that just wants to talk shit and say, fuck you, we're top of the table. You guys can, suck on our danglies all you want. And then there's the real me that we're a house of cards. Like there's absolutely no chance that we're in the title race. And I want to put that on the record now so that when we inevitably crumble and crumble badly, all you people talking about how, Spurs bottled it, and I'm going to want to tweet at me about it because you do it every goddamn year. No need. we're going to bottle it. And it's not a bottle job because we were never in it. The fact that we are top of the table right now is, I don't know, one of life's great mysteries. And, I would ascribe it to several things. I think that our schedule has been relatively soft, even though I know we've played a lot of road games and we've played, some tough opponents. It just feels like our schedule hasn't been that tough. And, we've played out of our mind. We've played really, really well. So I don't think that we're in the title race if you're actually asking for my opinion. Dalton, what do you think? 3-team title race?
Title race? Yeah, I think so. I think we're in a 3-team race this year. I've seen enough from Liverpool, Arsenal, and City to show that I think those 3 are the clear best teams in the league this year. But can I go back to the Kovacic thing just real quick? I don't understand. We have the entire soccer world has a massive conversation last week about fixing VAR and using VAR to the best of its ability and helping the referees on the field. And did the referee even go look at the Kovacic first challenge on the monitor? I don't think he did he? He wasn't sent over to the monitor to look at it, right?
They checked it.
They checked it, yeah.
But they didn't send him over to look.
Center went over. I don't think the center went over to look at
which
it.
Made
I don't think
no
that's
sense.
a red card.
I think it is.
Straight
I just want consistency.
Tommy.
I will
Tommy.
agree with Sam that it didn't have the vigor or the speed or the aggression that maybe a red card challenge demands. But I would also say Curtis Jones's did not. You're fucking shot. But by the standard that we've seen yellows turned into red so far this season, that's almost not a factor when going over to VAR. It's the placement of the boot on the leg, it's the studs being up, and it's how late were you really? And he had no chance at the ball. He slid in late, and whether he was going 100 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour, it doesn't matter. That's actually still pretty fast for a human to run. But however hard he was going, it doesn't matter. It's the placement of the boot and how high the challenge was. And given the standard of yellows turned into red so far this season, that's a red. But I'll agree with you that it didn't have the aggression that maybe other tackles would.
Can we stop avoiding the true conversation here? Well done, you two, Dalton and Sam, but just talk about how good Arsenal is.
Yeah.
Not talking about the referees.
You want your flowers.
You keep going away from you've turned both of you have turned a conversation about Arsenal, a question posed to me about Arsenal, into Spurs' title hopes and referee decisions.
I did that on purpose, and I think Sam did too.
I don't give a fuck about the referees or Spurs right now.
All right, fair enough. What else do you got to say? You guys are legitimate. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I think that everybody, even me, I'm willing to say Arsenal is legitimate.
No, to talk about the game, because I think the game was actually very fast.
It was a great game. Like tactically, watching that was very, very interesting. Watching everything that was happening, and the adjustments Arteta made, by the way, just every substitution he nailed. So, I mean, you got to give props to him for that, right?
Usually, I'll be honest, that's I think one of his weaker spots is the subs and the time of it. But he did quite well. But I've never seen Arsenal defend that well. I don't think they were great with the ball for majority of the game, and I thought City was better, especially in the first half. But they defended so well, and I have not seen Arsenal control a game like that defensively in a long time. Because usually, if a team takes 3 shots, it's because Arsenal's had 70% of possession. But to do that to City, I thought was really impressive.
Now, not to make it all about me, but the one thing I did come away from that game thinking was like, how did this Arsenal team look so good defensively against City when Tottenham, it's not that we carved you up, but we had a lot of looks. We had a lot, we made a lot of dangerous situations, and yet City just could not do anything. Like 0.0 XG for Erling Haaland kind of says it all. Like they just were not. they did
what
not
he does in
create-
big games.
I saw you tweet that. And are we ready to have that conversation? Maybe we should. But it's just they defensively. I did not think that Arsenal had that in it. So I will give you.
There were
golf
points
tops.
like the ball went in behind and Saliba was just like manhandled Holland, which I was not expecting. He just like literally fell over.
So is Saliba like the new Dalton's gonna get triggered?
Don't you dare even say it.
Oh,
Don't
no,
even say it.
I have a hot take on this. And I'm ready to put it on record.
Give
I'm
to
holding
us.
it against you, Tommy, that you said Van Dijk should have been benched after like one game.
I think his defending and his inability to go in 1v1 situations in the past year has caused.
Have you seen his duels and
I
how
don't
well
know.
he's doing? And
He's
watching
so-
the games. I'm not just
he
using
is-
duels percentage, but
No,
watching
but
the games.
he is selective about the duels he goes into because he goes into ones that he can only win.
All right, what's the take? What's the
Yeah,
take?
give me the.
Let's hear it.
I thought.
It's actually a compliment. Okay, when Liverpool turned themselves around into a serious title contender, I think it's on the back of Alisson and Van Dijk. Arsenal has turned themselves in a serious title contender after Saliba and goalie Ramsdale Raya. I think Spurs is doing that right now with Van de Ven and Vicario. I think they absolutely nailed those two signings, and those two guys are going to be that next level of like world-class prem in both positions, especially Van de Ven.
I was gonna say.
He's so
I
Van de Ven's
don't know about
impressed,
Vittoria
yeah.
yet, but Van de Ven and Romero next. to
Like
each other.
if they go on a and turn into like the next evolution of a strong prem cycle for the next 4 years, it's on the back of those two and obviously Postecoglou. But it feels like a world-class coach, center back, and goalkeeper in the prem right now. If you nail those, you're gonna have a really good like 4-year cycle.
Listen, we could keep arguing about this for a while, I think, but let's move on. Have we given Arsenal enough flowers yet? You feel like you got enough flowers?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. Well,
Too early. I won't go full slob on the knob.
yeah, you're not Tyler. You won't go
Premier League winners
fully
this year,
in.
though? Get it done this year?
I'm not going to be baited into that right now.
Get it done? Tommy,
Wait
gonna
a
get it
half
done this
hour.
year?
No, I mean
Oh.
I was gonna say, if we're really gonna talk about
seasons
title
have
race,
gone.
I still think it's a one-team
It's
title race.
way too early.
I think City's a class above. You guys did really well against them, I will say. I still think City has it in the bag. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot for me to change my mind. I thought
You're
City had
saying-
it in the bag.
You're
last
saying
January.
this on the back of the first time they've lost 2 back-to-back Premier League games since 2018.
True. Listen,
Oh wait, we didn't talk about how good Declan Rice was and how big of a miss Rodri was.
well, you
They-
did mention Rodri.
Yeah, no, Rodri killed them. I think that speaks to just how much possession we had.
For his
no
own fault,
Rodri.
by the way.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
his own fault. he
Not an
wasn't in that.
injury.
Yeah.
Listen,
And then-
Dalton, you and I were talked about how Rodri might be the most important player for.
Yeah,
for the
I
team.
think that game proved it. I think he's by far their most important player.
I think it proved it for Rice too. Like, and also Jorginho. Like when Jorginho's at his best, he's had, and I think Jorginho was very good in the last game. He's played alongside like a Conte or a Rice, like just like an all-action midfielder. And so I think you could see that more often. But yeah, I think both those guys are so impressive.
Okay, we got to talk about the other games quickly. Any other? So, I mean, there were some interesting games. Tottenham, 10-man Tottenham. Listen, I love Basuma. He absolutely deserved that the red card. Just what are you doing diving when you're on a yellow card? That's just terrible. But Tottenham finding a way to come out of that with a win. I'm not saying it's a different Tottenham team. It's just that Tottenham last year, Tottenham this year, or Tottenham last year, Tottenham 2 years ago, we wouldn't have won that game. So it felt nice to come away from, yes, it's Luton, right? It's Luton Town. So we can't get too high and mighty on this, but like, it just felt really good to come away. And as soon as we got that red card, and as soon as we had all those chances and we didn't score anything, like a 6:30 game for anybody, in Chicago or the Central Time, like we've seen this movie before. It was going to be like the weekend ruined by 8:30 in the morning on Saturday morning, losing to Luton. And yet they came away with a win that felt nice. That felt really nice. There's been a lot of games that felt really nice. And I know that we got we got some tough ones coming. I know that's going to happen, but it feels nice right now. Just let me enjoy that. Okay, let me enjoy this. Other games, Man United, they got to win. Let's give them some golf claps. Also, Fulham got the win. Burnley, Chelsea, 4 goals. Chelsea Football Club. What in the world are you guys doing? Shout out to them. Everton, 3 goals. There's something in the water going on over there in the Premier League this weekend. Wolves 1-1 with Aston Villa. Wolves was 10-man. Brighton, Liverpool.
That Jack Harrison goal might be the goal of the season, by the way. That goal, it might be it for me so far. It is, it's a beauty. It just hits it perfectly. It's going to be tough to beat that one. It's going to be really tough.
He's an honorary American.
Right.
He went to college.
Exactly. I was just going to say that exactly. Yep.
We definitely claim him. 3 goals for Everton, one with a banger from Harrison. There were 2 games on Sunday that really were, I watched them both sort of on my 2 phones at the time. The Brighton Liverpool and West Ham Newcastle, both 2-2 draws. And then Wolves Aston Villa was a draw, and then I thought for a while that Arsenal Man City was going to be a draw too. I thought it was just going to be draws all the way across the board. But let's talk to the Liverpool fan. What was your thoughts on a 2-2 road draw at Brighton?
Really mixed. That Brighton are Liverpool's bogey team. Like, Brighton are really good, but also we don't beat Brighton even really at Anfield. Like, it's tough these last few years, even before the Derby. So expected a tough game. It sucks that the 2 goals were on defensive mistakes that Brighton got. So, I mean, not great in that sense, but also I think at the end of the season, like, if we look back, we're like, a point at Brighton, this Brighton and what they are is not bad. Like, that is not a bad result. And especially whenever we're looking at the start to the season Liverpool's had, missing Curtis Jones this game, obviously missing Diogo Jota, a lot of players missing. I'm not too mad about it. There were a lot of Liverpool fans losing their minds after this game. And I actually have a player on Brighton that's going to get my GOA this week, so I don't want to mention him yet. But I just think people are losing their minds. Away games in the Premier League are tough, especially against top half opposition. So I'm not too disappointed by it. We've had an incredibly tough start to the season, and to still be sitting where we are on the table, I'm good with it. I'm okay. Like, come back from the international break, beat the shit out of Everton, and keep moving on.
Fair enough. Other things that stood out. Matt Turner, another shutout. I mean, he's playing really well in the Premier League. I feel like it's something that people we probably talk about it here and there. Like, we've got this guy who's number 1 in the Premier League, but like, he may not be getting enough credit for, the fact that he really is. I mean, he's being that guy, and he's
asked to face a lot of shots every week too. And that's 100%. What we want from our U.S. men's national team. Number 1 is an active keeper, someone who's getting time and seeing a lot of shots.
Talking about who's not that guy, Jordan Love. God damn it, you fucking Jesus Christ. Sorry.
I'm so happy. Happy.
What a fucking shit throw. Yes. So shout out to Matt Turner. Just keeps doing that thing. West Ham, they're for real. West Ham just keeps doing it, Shout out to West Ham. I know Newcastle is legit, and we've already talked about that here and there, but West Ham where are they in the table right now? They are in 7th. Yeah, 7th place, 14 points. I mean, like, that is a team that, maybe I'm just saying this as a Tottenham fan because we always sort of have issues playing against them. I do not want to face West Ham ever, especially right now. I just feel like they're a team that they're just a tough team to play. And we'll move on. We're not going to do power rankings, even though I know Arsenal fans, these Tweedles got some things to say. But here's the thing. We can hold off and say them coming out of the international break. So we'll hold off for now because we're running a little long here. We don't have a weekend preview because it is the international break. So we're going to move on and hit the round the world, and where U.S. men's national team obviously features prominently at this point. We've got games against Germany and Ghana coming up. These are both friendlies, obviously, and they're being held in the U.S., much to the dismay of the terrorist Timmy Tuchel and Leon Goretzka, who apparently doesn't understand how time zones work. But we're only talking about the Germany game now, because I think the Ghana game is on Tuesday, so that'll be after the next episode. So the roster is out. We have talked about that a little bit. There's been some changes. Malik Tillman was a late scratch with an injury, so Alex Zendejas from Club America got called up in his place. I think I saw some people who wanted some other players instead of him, Booth, and I don't know who else stands out from the tweets. But, I think also it made sense. And Zendejas is basically, pretty close to Nashville where we're playing. And I know that Zendejas did not have a very good summer with the national team, but listen, he just keeps playing and playing well in Liga MX. So he's a guy that it's tough to have too much argument about bringing him into the squad, and I'm sure he'll probably play better in future games, but he's probably not going to start, so it's not even a big deal for this window. So I don't know, should we go maybe? There were two questions I had about the U.S. men's national team coming into this window, specifically this game against Germany. And number one is, the what's our best 11? What's the starting 11 we'd like to see? And number two, what is realistic expectations for what this team and, a result in the game? And, do we need a win? Do we need a draw? Do we just need a good performance? That type of thing. So let's start with best 11, or, starting 11. Dalton, you got 11 you want to throw at us?
Oh, I don't know about a whole 11, but I can give you some players.
Okay. Specifically,
well, first
the
of all,
midfield is
yeah, that's where I'm looking. Tyler Adams, it sucks that he's out,
right,
because it looks like he's hurt again. And I think there's been a lot of debate on if Tyler Adams is part of our best midfield, and I would say he 100% is a part of our best midfield. So without Tyler Adams and without Malik Tillman, because I would have liked to have seen Malik Tillman, I definitely think you have to go McKinney and Musa together. And then I don't think Zendejas is going to start. So I think Gio Reyna should probably get the start in that other midfield spot if it was me. But considering that he's coming off of an injury himself, where it doesn't seem like he's 90-minute fit, at least according to what Dortmund is looking like, I would probably honestly go, probably not ideal, but probably go Brendan Aronson if Gio is not ready to start.
Right. And the Twitterati will not be happy with that, because Aronson has not been playing all that great in Germany, and people are really Twitter seems to be really down on Aronson at the moment. The Leeds situation where they went down, and obviously that just didn't reflect well on him and on Adams and on McKennie, whether it was their fault or not, even though they were, some of them were injured for the whole damn time.
The same Twitter that said Pulisic wasn't good enough for Milan after one game.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, yes, exactly. The Venn diagram there is a perfect circle.
Exactly.
Overlapping circles. So yeah, I don't have a big argument with you there. I saw some tweets like, Greg was going to do dual 10s, with like Tillman and I assume, I don't know, Gio or maybe Musa. But obviously I don't I don't think the Tillman injury probably changes that. I don't think Gio's going to start.
I don't think so either.
He's definitely not 90 minutes fit, just based on what he's been doing with Dortmund so far. Maybe you start him and get the whole the talk just dissipate, just get him out there. I don't know. Mitch, what do you think? What do you think about our starting line?
I'm going to continue to push my Luca Del Torre narrative, because I think he's one of the more informed midfielders we have at the moment. Gio came on as a sub on the weekend for Dortmund. I don't know what the best course of action is for like working a player back from injury like that. I would assume that you want to get minutes under his belt and you want to get him reps. And he's playing against Germany, the country he plays in, so he will likely be familiar with a lot of the defenders that he's going to be seeing. I don't know if he starts. I would like to see McKennie, Musa, and I'd love Luca Del Torre to start up there. I think he, in the time that he's had with the U.S. men's national team, has shown flashes of like real creativity, and he plays in a way that Reyna just doesn't. So yeah, that's who I'd like to see in place.
I'm glad you brought up Del Torre because he's been playing really well for
He's
Celta
balling.
Vigo. So I think that's a fair shout. And I think he's actually played well for us when he's gotten out there, you know? So
Yeah.
Other than breaking his nose, you know, things
He got battered that week. Did you see that? He got he got his nose broken. Didn't he get a black eye too?
I don't know if they were
think he
related.
had, like,
or
Really
not.
two
left
black
it all
eyes.
out there. Yeah, he really left it all out there. That's what we like to see.
Then what about, so obviously Balogun, I assume is everybody's gonna say he's gonna start the 9.
Yep.
Pulisic and Weah.
Yep.
We're not gonna throw Weah at right back at this point, I don't think.
Nope. No, we won't. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, you're welcome. On defense, obviously Turner is our locked on GK1 at this point. There's been some talk of, well, first of all, the center back pairing is probably worth discussing quickly. And then, you know, there's been some talk about maybe getting the Scally in the lineup based on how well he's been playing in Germany.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah. So
I'd absolutely start Scally.
So you'd start Scally?
Yeah, I absolutely would.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't be perturbed if he started. I'd be fine, you know, with kind of any of that combination with Dest, Robinson, and Scally. I can't really. I got no issues there. What about the center back, Tommy? Who would you got, you know, as our best center back pairing at this point?
I'm looking at the roster right now, so I need to make sure I don't say anyone that's not on the team. I think Robinson.
Dalton can cut this, by the way, so don't worry.
Cut this out. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I can even pause it.
No, you're good. I'd probably go Robinson and Richards.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I could see them for some reason. I feel like I could see a 3-back with just like trying something. If you're gonna play dual 10s, maybe like a double pivot, 2 10s. With Robinson, Cameron Vickers, and Richards.
Yeah, you know, CCV's been playing pretty well.
I feel like he's gonna try some stuff in friendlies, but so that's why I don't put too much stock into it.
That's a conversation to be had, right? Whether this is when you try things, because basically at the end of the day, depending on how things go later, he's either going to get shit on for trying things now, or he's going to get shit on for not trying things now, and it's kind of tough, tough situation to be in. But my center back duo, I mean, if we're just going to go duo, yeah, I guess I got to go CCV and Richards right now. Robinson, you know, it's really like we got Zimmerman, we got Robinson, we got Ream, we got a lot of options, which is great. I think from a longer term perspective, getting Richards and CCV together, maybe Robinson, but I felt like he was a little off the pace last time for the men's national team. So that's where I'd lean towards CCV and Richards if we're, you know, unless we're going to go something experimental as Tommy was suggesting. But listen, it's actually one of those good problems to have, right? At least we have guys that I think we can all argue. You can make arguments and make strong cases for why they should be in there. You can make a very strong case for Tim Ream, right? I mean, like, guys.
I would say start Ream against Germany.
Think so?
Wait,
I was going to say that. I would go.
You have a roster?
Yeah.
I read that wrong then. I think he's definitely part of it then.
I think Berhalter's going to want to start Ream against Germany for the experience, which is going to be really helpful back there.
Now, see, I understand that, but then also this is a game where you get experience, right? And we don't need. I'm like going to be like an anti-old person here, even though I am an old person. But like, do we need Ream to get experience? Like, it's just. I know that you didn't say we need to get Ream experience, but like, this is a game where get CCV some experience, get Richards next to him some experience. Like, is Ream going to really be the guy when we get to 2026? I mean, I didn't think he was going to be. Not. I didn't think he was going to be the guy in 2023, and he admittedly made me look like a doofus, and played really well, and is still playing really well at a high level for Fulham. Ream so I sort of am loath to make the same mistake twice when he made me look like a dumbass once. But for me, this is the type of game where I would rather see CCV and guys like CC, basically young guys, get experience, as opposed to leaning on the experience in a game that ultimately doesn't matter, right? Other than the Twitter people who can hate on Greg if we get our asses handed to us.
So the hate will come either way.
Oh, absolutely. So quickly, what is Mitch, what's the expectation for this game? What would be sort of like a win? What would be a draw? What would be a loss?
If we were to go out there and score more goals than Germany within that 90-minute time frame, I'd consider it a win. And I think it's super realistic given the German national team's recent form. Have you taken a look at some of their friendlies? The reason I know off the top of my head is because I consistently bet on them in games like Colombia and Japan, both of which they've lost. Then they beat France. The fuck. But no, the German national team is not the German national team of old right now. I think they're going through a transition period. I have not looked at their roster or their projected lineup, so can't really speak to that. But I think we have a very real chance of winning this game, staying in it and winning this game. We're not going to out Germany, right? So we have to play a little CONCACAF-y. But I think we're equipped to do so, and I would love to see us come out of here with like a 2-1 win.
Tommy, is that doable?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really partial to the result at this point. To be honest, I want to see a good performance.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I mean, these are the games that they're friendlies, but you're playing against a world-class opponent. At least, you would think you're going to have a world-class opponent across from you. And obviously, Hansi Flick, the fact he's not coaching suggests that there's something going on.
Right. Now they might actually have a chance, right?
Right. Dalton, what's your prediction here?
I think it's going to be a low-scoring draw, which I'd be fine with. We know we can compete with the Germanys of the world now, right? Like, we know we can. We've seen it time and time again. So just continue to grow that, I guess, get good chances against them. I will say, though, like on the Germany front, I don't think anyone could step into a hotter seat than Julian Nagelsmann stepping into that Germany job. And the game might not mean a lot to us, and we're just looking at some performances. If Germany come into this international window and look like they did the last few with Nagelsmann, his seat's going to be on fire before he sits down. So Germany is going to have a lot to prove in this game, even if it's just a friendly.
A low scoring draw does sound about right for this type of game. I hope they then put a hurt on Mexico in the second game. That would be that'd be hilarious. Yes. So I think it really is. Listen, I feel like a broken record, but anytime we have one of these friendlies, it's kind of the performance, right? I mean, no fucking injuries to Reina and Pulisic and anybody for that matter. But just have these guys get some serious minutes against a legitimate opponent, and the result hopefully follows suit. Okay, let's wrap this up. Stoppage time. Stoppage time. That didn't sound right. Whatever, we'll go with it. So we will start with Ivan Toney's best bets, where I will give you a quick rundown on what happened last week from the overtrain, and things. I think they went okay. Yeah, Well, okay, not great, not great. So last couple weeks, I've been doing this five overs on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, one game a day, and I've actually been killing it in the last few weeks. Did not kill it this week. I went 2-3, not terrible, but obviously not great. But I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to keep that mojo. It was a little tougher to come up with 5 games, let me tell you, on an international break. But you know what? I dig deep. I do my research, make sure that people go home happy. So I have mine ready to go. But if you guys want to start out, I can wait and let you guys go first. Okay, I'll go. All right. So remember, one game a day. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're all going overs here. Wednesday, we're going to go to the Czech Republic. We're going to go to a League Cup game where Sparta Kolin and Bohemians 1905 just screams over. Probably all coming from Bohemians. I think they're going to score all the goals. Sparta Kolin is, I think, a second division team. Thursday, we're getting CONCACAF up in here. Nations League, St. Lucia and Guadeloupe. I know people are like, what the hell is that? They're both two high scoring, relatively speaking, teams. They're the two best teams in the group. They're going at each other. I expect goals from both sides. If you really want to get spicy and you want to add both teams to score, go for it. I'm not going to kink shame around here, but I'm just going to keep it nice and simple with the overs. Friday, we are going to Euro qualification, Netherlands and France. I mean, listen, that for sure is one of those teams is either scoring a bunch or they're both scoring a bunch. Saturday, we're going to go to England, League Two. So Justin Furtado pointed this out on Twitter the other day. Notts County, I've been, banging the drum for Wrexham this whole time. Notts County scores and gets scored on more. And Wrexham has kind of let me down a few times recently, I will say. So I'm going to switch from my all overs all the time with Wrexham. I'm going over to Notts County. They got a League Two game against Mansfield on Saturday. Mansfield isn't exactly a high scoring team, but I think Notts County they get scored on enough that I think and they always score. So I'm going Notts County, Mansfield on Saturday. And then Sunday, this is where we're really digging deep. I thought I was digging deep on the Czech Cup game on Wednesday. No, Sunday, Liga de Expansion MX. So we're not talking Liga MX. We're going the second division. Okay. Second division, Atletico La Paz and Mineros. And this over, I love. Okay. Both these teams are the two top scoring teams in the league, and they both get scored on a fair amount, especially Atletico La Paz, who is actually at home. I love this. If there's one that I've given out over the course of the last however many months, this game, Atletico La Paz hosting Mineros, Liga de Expansión MX on Sunday. I love this game. Don't let me down. Do not let me down. Come on, guys. Okay, so there's my Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I got to come up with a quick fun name for that, by the way. I don't have one yet. I'm going to figure that out. Dalton, what do you got?
I have one to add for you because this one is so off the reservation, and I wanted to throw it your way because this team, Cambuur, have you ever heard of them in the Netherlands, the second division?
2 U's?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who lives around there. And so he's a Cambuur fan.
Deep research.
I follow them on FootMob just because I want to keep up with how they do. Every game they play, I swear, is a goal fest. Through 9 games so far this year, there's been 42 goals in their games. And they're playing a team, NAC Breda, I think is how you pronounce it. They score and get scored on quite a bit as well for a team that's not as good. So if you want to take that over, Sam, it's all yours.
I love that.
I'm giving that one out there too.
Eredivisie game? Are they actually playing?
They're second division.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're playing.
So so that's on Sunday. And then there's 2 MLS games I like, but I'll just give one. I generally just like one. I don't want to steal Mitch's or Tommy's, so I'm just going to give the one. I like games that there is a lot to play for one team and nothing to play for the other. So I like Dallas over Colorado because Dallas is fighting for a playoff spot and Colorado is fighting for nothing.
I like it. That's good. That's see those type of rules for gambling, I'm all about. So, and that's a very good one. I like that one. Good shout. Mitchell, what do you got for us?
I got a couple. Put these together at your own discretion. But I'm sticking mostly in Euro qualifying. Firstly, I have Erling Haaland to score against Cyprus. Now, we've already mentioned that he does not show up in big games. He does
This
show
is
up
massive,
against
though.
Cyprus, though. He does show up against Cyprus. That's you do not get good odds for that, but you use that as a sweetener for something like Belgium money line against Austria. Really like that. Austria is formidable. Belgium's better. Quite simple. And then I also like Croatia money line against Turkey. The Croatian team, you get really, really good value. They're not a high scoring team, but they will win at home.
The thing about them
Croatia,
is they give up no goals. They've given up like
no,
one or
right.
two.
They do not concede, right? They win games 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, if that. So unders are your friend there if you can get a favorable line, but I really do like them to win at home against Turkey.
Okay, I like it. Tommy, what are you hitting us with?
I'm going with a Megan Rapinoe to score in her last game.
I like that.
That's good.
Plus I'm trying to parlay this with I'll go Serbia and Hungary tie.
I love Tommy's bets. They're like always plus 1,200. That's good. Okay, I like that. We'll move on. Go is time. Everybody's favorite segment. I always, as usual, have a whole list, so I don't want to go first. I want to let let you guys go. I don't want to take yours. Wait, who's gonna first person who makes eye contact with me? I'm pulling it, Tommy. The first person who made eye contact did not want to go. All right,
Yeah.
I know that.
I got one if you need
Dalton's
time, Tommy.
ready.
Yeah,
Go
please,
for it,
Dalton, go.
I got you. All right, Carlos Baleba, Brighton midfielder, who they brought in. I wouldn't say as a direct Caicedo replacement, but pretty much a Caicedo replacement / Basuma replacement, or anyone else that plays that role for Brighton. This guy, I was super impressed with him. The little bit I watched of him in the French league for Lille last year. It's not like he even was there for that long. He only played 23 games for the first team there. He's a baller. He looked incredible against Liverpool. His passing is incredible. He reminds me a lot more of Basuma than Caicedo, but I'm just a massive fan of this guy. And it's ultimately going to be another one of those players that Brighton sell for $100+ million next summer or in a couple summers.
I was gonna say, this is really a shout out to Brighton's scouting department.
Yeah, he's so fun to watch. And if people watch that Liverpool Brighton game, I know there was a lot of games going on at the time. Just if you need to, just go back and watch him. He is everywhere. He is exactly what that Brighton team needs in midfield. And they just uncover him like none other. And this is the next one, Carlos Baleba. So remember that name.
Good shout. Mitchell, what do you got for us?
I got two this week. One is our friend, dare I say, brother, Mikey Podcasts, for getting himself blocked on Twitter by NBC Sports because he consistently calls them out for their bias in how they tweet highlights and the commentary that they tweet them with. I think it's beautiful that they've blocked him. He doesn't fucking pull punches.
Not with them, he doesn't. He's been on them for
doesn't.
so hard for so long. You remember the score bug that he hated so much because it had the dash in there?
Oh,
when
God,
it doesn't need the dash because they're two different colors. He hated them for that. He really, I don't know what MDC ever did to him, but he was really.
I love the small things that he seems to hold grudges for. It's awesome. I am also scared one day that I will have haters similar to Mikey because I'm not shy about my Arsenal bias when posting on Overtime FC, and I fear that might alienate some people. Good one. If you don't like it, don't follow me. But I hope not to really anger people as NBC has angered Mikey. And then my other one is kind of everyone at AC Milan who have capitalized on this 10 minutes of Giroud goalkeeping and turned it into a phenomenon. not only did he make like a pretty aggressive challenge and save in the dying minutes of that game, Pulisic scored. We can't not mention that, but they have listed him as a keeper on their website, and they've started selling Giroud 9 goalkeeper jerseys, which is just like beautiful. That is just fucking genius from them. I know they've moved thousands and thousands of dollars worth of merchandise, and they're capitalizing off of like 10 minutes of play. That's it. That's beautiful. That's capitalism at its damn best. So shout out to whoever runs AC Milan's fan shop. That's really well done.
I know that really. I'm going to touch on this again in a moment when we get to my goals, because I can't not talk about a field player going in goal and dominating, a real athlete. But
someone mentioned that Pulisic wanted to go in, that like there was a conversation and that he was like, well, give me the gloves, and Giroud was like, no, I'm 6'3" and handsome, let me do this. But I would have loved to see Pulisic in there. That would have been sick.
That'd have been amazing, unless he got scored on, in which case, it would have been the worst.
Wouldn't have happened.
Of course not. Tommy, you got one for us?
I'll double down on that. That was probably the best thing this weekend, plus the fact that he got team of the week. And not just AC Milan capitalizing on it, the whole country.
Yeah, you just stole mine.
Yeah.
The whole league. The league basically, capitalized by throwing him team of the week, a guy who played 10 minutes. Just amazing. Awesome. Anti-GKU. I just shout out Syria on that one.
And Jude Bellingham. Like I would say he's the best player in the world right now. And it's I don't think it's close right now. He's just been so much fun to watch. And I didn't realize it, but like he's come out and said like Zidane was my favorite player growing up. And I was like, like I could kind of see that, but whatever. Since he's been there, I'm like, this guy's like the reincarnation of Zidane. He is ridiculously good and way better at finishing and being a 10 than I thought.
Yeah.
This guy can do it all.
For some reason, I just think of Zidane as slightly different than I think of Bellingham. Just Zidane is so smooth. And I know Bellingham kind of is too, but I don't know. There's some difference there, but man, Bellingham is incredible. Although the first thing I think of every time I see him is I think of that little aardvark, that the video of the aardvark running away and then like and then stopping and going like this and like celebrating like Bellingham. I think it's an aardvark. I don't even know what kind.
I will say, like to your smooth point, he is one of those players that I saw run around live, and I was like, this guy is ridiculously smooth.
Really, doesn't surprise me. I mean, anybody who's
and like on the television, you can kind of see it, but not fully. And then in person, you're like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it was something about Zidane. He just had that sort of aura of swag about him that I was just. It was sort of. It's hard to compare anybody in the world to that. Yeah. So, Bellingham is what, 22? How old is he right now?
I think he's younger.
I think he's just now turned 20 or 21.
Oh my God. That's insane. Okay. But fair. Listen, the guy is incredible, and he's in incredible form. He's kind of carrying Real Madrid.
He just turned 20 in June.
Oh my God. That's insane. All right. So you guys have hammered Giroud and Serie A at this point. So that was going to be my culmination of my GOAWs this week. So we'll knock that off the list. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Wolves TikTok admin, who came pretty hard at your boy Hair Clap last week when he was like, he said something about, I know you probably know the quote at this point, Dalton, but basically he said, I don't remember any time that we had a goal that was, not a goal or whatever the hell he said. And then Wolves admin was like, you sure about that? And then basically showed an FA Cup game where they were off. I think Liverpool was offsides and it wasn't called or something like that. It was well done by the Wolves TikTok admin. And I know Dalton wants to get a word in.
They're keeping receipts, and so am I. That's all good. It's all good.
Fair enough, as you should. Also, honorable mention GOAW to West Ham, who have now gone 17 straight games unbeaten in Europe. Wow, well done, West Ham. That's really impressive. But I'm going to go plan B on my actual GOAW this week. I'm going to give it to Lamine Yamal. So, I mean, not only is obviously he's an incredible player, I think if we're talking about kids, literal kids, I think he's only like 17 at this point. He's getting, legitimate first team minutes. He was playing in Champions League for Barcelona against Porto, and he just left the field in the 71st minute in a Champions League game to go take a dump and did not come back. So they replaced him in the 80th minute. Like, it was like they played with 10 men for 9 minutes in a I think it was 1-0 at the time or something, in a 1-0 Champions League game, because the kid had to go take a dump. And the fact that he had the balls, the audacity to do that, he's definitely going places. So shout out Lamine Yamal pulling a Eric Dyer, and just taking a dump in the middle of a Champions League game.
Duty calls.
I mean, listen, when it does, I guess you got to listen. So I guess
Ten Hag would make him apologize.
Right. I mean, I guess the other option is pull a Gary Lineker and just take a dump on the field. But
yeah, that works.
In this day and age, that would not go down well. I don't think it went down well with Lineker, but at least there wasn't sort of Twitter to sort of hammer him every 5 minutes. So shout out Lamine Yamal. Well done, sir. 17-year-old with the balls to go take a dump in the middle of the Champions League game. You don't
and
hear
they scored on the weekend.
And then he scored in the weekend. So it's just a huge week for Lamine Yamal. That's all we got, guys. Thank you to Dalton and Mitch and Tommy. You guys are the best. Can't thank you enough for your time and your thoughts and your beautiful faces, and your bad takes on Curtis Jones. And thank you to everybody else for listening. We'll be back next week when hopefully we'll be talking about a famous win against Germany. Hopefully, making up for the 2002 World Cup. I mean, obviously not. But then we'll talk about Ghana, and then, of course, set you up for the weekend that comes. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you then.